Hello and welcome. My name is Joseph Rice. I'm the managing partner at Honeycomb, and today we talk about challenges and priorities for chief sales officers in 2022. Let's dig right in. Number one, organizational restructuring. And here in particular, we need to look at the enablement of each team member to add more value to customers or potential buyers. And how do we do that? We do that through social selling, but also digital prospecting. And we need to have a strategy in place for demand generation. And what we can see is that the traditional sales roles will transform heavily more to customer success leaders. We will have an increased focus on collaboration across the entire organization, and that includes the old battle between sales and marketing that needs to come together, including HR, including the senior leadership roles, but also product teams. So the chief sales officer has challenges and has priorities next year, which not only includes the sales team and the sales department, but runs across all other departments of an organization. Now, that is something we will see very drastically next year and the years to follow. We will also see that CSOs will drive accountability culture across the sales force and beyond. We will see that we will measure outcomes instead of output. So there will be a change in the KPIs and how we measure KPIs. The importance of KPIs from the past will fade away and new KPIs will arise, and the CSO will have to deal with that and measure these KPIs in a very thoughtful and business-driven way. We will see that the chief sales officer will enable their sales teams and sales reps to more accountability. What do we mean by that? Specifically, the pipeline development and the effort that goes into that will be with the sales reps and also the sales managers. And they need to find actionable insights for improvement. So accountability will be a big topic, and the power will be put into the sales reps' hands to act more independently. And so how can we do that as the chief sales officer or head of sales? Well, we have to communicate the company's core values and make sure that everybody is in line and aligned with the company's values. A lot of CSOs and a lot of sales organizations will introduce structured development programs to help sales reps and sales managers grow their skill sets. Sales must embrace digital innovation and technologies. And why do we say that? Well, the majority of CEOs believe in digital transformation, topics such as cloud, artificial intelligence, and social media. And there's a strong need for CSOs to ensure that their sales teams embrace these digital innovations and technologies in their daily work, but also in their strategy, in their sales methodology, and in their sales approach. The role of a chief sales officer has evolved drastically and changed tremendously over the past years. And it's going from being focused on acquiring new business to now driving the business in the context of an entire digital transformation process across the whole organization. Now, that is something new, and that is something tremendously important to consider in the planning and in the strategy. We will also see that customer loyalty has to improve by embracing digital innovation and technologies. Sales organizations will have to adopt advanced communication channels such as social media and strengthening their analytics capabilities. Big keyword here is big data. We also see that there's a mobile-enabled infrastructure for accessing data and information anytime, anywhere that the CSO has to consider and implement into the sales organization and cross-department as well. Now, why should sales organizations embrace digital innovation and technology? Well, the answer is simple: because the buyers already have. The savviness of buyers negates the need for sales interactions. That is something that changes the whole sales landscape for the years to come. Buyer enablement strategies must be at the top of the priority list. And also this creates, of course, new challenges for the CSO, for sales managers, for sales reps. We will also see the need for advanced forms of analytics capabilities to address these challenges, improve conversion rates, and develop predictive sales intelligence. Either develop or buy them into the sales organization from third-party providers. The more predictive our sales strategy and sales approach is, the better the outcome and the results will be. Big topic number 2 is talent acquisition and talent development. Now, why is that important? Well, there is a high demand for new age sales leaders with a different mindset, with a different skill set than what we used to see over the past 10 years, 20 years, but also over the past 10 months. New revenue avenues require uncompromising reskilling and upskilling of your sales force. Now, let's just pick some keywords and buzzwords here, just like social selling, consultative sales, buyer enablement strategy. You can't do that with an old and outdated sales mindset. And these are the strategies that will dominate the sales organization and the sales industry in the next decade. So if we fail to adapt to that, we will have a hard time keeping our competitive edge. Further, it's very important to acquire newer and up-to-date skill sets. And how do we do that? By hiring new people, younger people who are fresh and have the attitude and have the mindset and have the knowledge about digital innovations and technologies. But at the same time, we need to build and develop the capabilities of our existing employees. There are ways that we can reskill them, that we can upskill them and prepare them for the next years to come. That also has an effect and an impact, of course, on the bottom line. And how can we do that? Well, there are several ways how we can do that. For example, through in-house training, through self-learning systems and platforms, and external sales training and education, which can provide us with a fresh and neutral perspective on what we are already been doing in our sales team and in our sales force. In 2022, we will also see that skill sets are required that lie beyond selling. So it's not about selling anymore. That simply is not enough. And we will see that in 2022 and the next 5 to 10 years to come, very drastically so. And here's why. We talk about social selling strategies and digital prospecting. The landscape of sales has changed drastically and will continue to change in the next 5 to 10 years, with social selling and digital prospecting at the core, but also buyer enablement and an understanding of the buyer and their buyer journey, their user experience, their internal buying process, and the guidance that the sales can give to the buy side is very, very high on top of the priority list. What it boils down to is serving our buyers and our customers rather than being salesy, being pushy, being needy, and just focused on the sales side. That is simply not enough anymore. We need to understand what the buyer is going through, their buying process, their discovery journey, their user journey, from identifying a problem to ultimately choosing a solution, choosing a vendor, and then purchasing that solution. That is absolutely crucial, and CSOs need to have that understanding and also pushing that knowledge downwards to their sales force and sales teams. And if we look at the data clearly shows why this is important. 55% of salespeople lack basic sales skills. That's what Forbes says. Further, 84% of sales training is lost after 90 days. And that's a statistic from Spodio. We also know through Forbes that $1 invested in sales training returns $29 in incremental revenue, with $20 billion per annum spent on sales training in the US alone. So the numbers are staggering. It's a great business case for reskilling and upskilling your sales force. Now, what does that mean for a chief sales officer or a head of sales? Let's have a look. Well, we have to ensure that the sales workforce is adequately equipped, and we need to enable non-sales teams to help add value. One department that comes to mind here is marketing, but also HR, but also customer services. And also, let's not forget about the senior leadership levels in our organization. Also, we need to reskill and upskill the sales force on a continuous basis. We can't let the training drop down after 90 days. We need to have that installed and in place continuously. And also, we need to enable our sales force and salespeople to embrace and apply digital innovation and new digital ways to do things that they are accustomed to. Social selling, digital prospecting, and so on. Challenge number 3 for CSOs in 2022 is interdisciplinary alignment. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, we need to ensure the alignment across different departments, such as finances, such as marketing, HR, customer service. All departments need to be working in unison to generate revenue growth. And we need an organization which is battle ready and can quickly switch gears from cost management mode to revenue generation mode. And here's one thing to remember: technologically driven buyers replace most human interactions in their buying process and decisions in the years to come. And what we are witnessing right now is the evolution of a self-serving culture. Now, we need to be aware of that, and we need to implement that knowledge and that approach and that strategy into our organization, not only in the sales team and the sales organization, but across all departments we've just discussed. As a chief sales officer, you will have to align sales and marketing, and that battle has been going on for decades now, since sales and marketing had been invented. But it's very important to bridge that gap and to align sales and marketing and get them on the same page. But also, let's not forget about IT, technology, HR, customer services, top and bottom line expectations. Now, all of that needs to come together, and the role of the CSO, especially in 2022 and moving forward, will need to cover all of that. Now, what helps us as a CSO in our role and in our responsibilities? Well, first of all, we need to track emerging technology trends and their impact on business model. We have to look at that very, very closely, and how it could impact our business, our strategy, our planning. And if we think that it is beneficial, we need to find ways to integrate it into our own strategy. It's also important for us to build relationships with other C-level executives in order to align the company's strategy and vision. Further, we need to identify high potential individuals for hiring or developing our talent pipeline further. vision and inspiration. Let's have a look at that. Well, what we talk about here is interdepartmentally integrating the vision and inspiring departments, not only the sales department, but also other departments that we need to work together with very, very closely. We need to articulate how individual roles can add value to the customer, to the potential buyer, and across the whole user journey. We need to ensure that customer experience is not compromised, and also redefine and strengthen internal and external relationships with suppliers, with buyers, with teams, third-party vendors, and so on. Now, with changing customer dynamics, buyer behavior, and expectations, and increasing focus on differentiation, an outdated sales function is unfit for the future. Now, what is the impact for CSOs of what we have just discussed? Well, we need to embrace new challenges, and new challenges will arise every single day as technology and digitalization moves forward. We need to ensure that people are rewarded accordingly. A transformative approach is required that secures client loyalty, but also creates value for our own shareholders and stakeholders within the organization. We need to be able to push boundaries. We need to have that mindset, that attitude to push the boundaries and just to find new strategies on how to improve upon what we have already been doing, but also find new avenues for revenue growth. Chief sales officers are expected to be agile, zealous, and guarantee business growth by fostering innovative ideas, given the increased customer sophistication and market volatility triggered by rapid technological advancements. That is very important. We have got to be agile, we have got to be flexible, and we need to respond to what the market signals us. What is going on in the market? What is going on with our buyers? How are they expecting us to interact with them? What is the market doing? Where's the market going? What are the expectations? And how can we meet those expectations at the very, very top level, maybe even exceed these expectations? Challenge and priority number 4 for CSOs in 2022, productivity. What we've seen over the last years is that short-term objectives often outweigh strategic considerations and affecting long-term value creation. Now, top performers will be drawn to industries that value their skills and offer them the greatest opportunity for learning. Now, we need to remember that it's not just another job. If we want to attract top performers, we need to have all the prerequisites ready within our organization, within our team, to attract top performers. In order to grow revenue, we need to optimize our sales functions and create a more supportive environment, and also encourage managers to set clear goals so we can measure these objectives. We need to provide superior training either in-house or with an external partner to continuously upskill and reskill our sales people and provide that personal development opportunity for our sales people. And also, of course, we need to align our sales teams with the company objectives. That is very important, so we are not only acting upon sales-focused KPIs, but also the values of the company, the growth objectives of the company. Where do we want to go? How do we want to present ourselves? How do we want to be seen in the market? All of that needs to come together, not only in marketing, not only in HR, not only in customer service, but now also in sales. That is a tremendous change that we've seen over the past years. You need to deeply inspect and analyze your sales team while also implementing improvements. As we said, reskilling and upskilling where necessary. So you need to analyze what your team has been doing, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and moving forward, what does your team need to meet their targets? Now we've seen that it's absolutely crucial and vital and important to upskill and reskill our sales force. And the data that we've seen is absolutely clear. Sales training has proven to provide a 353% ROI with 20 billion US dollars per year spent on sales training. That clearly indicates that quality training will increase productivity and result in revenue growth. In order to increase the productivity of our sales force, we need to remember that the buying behavior has changed significantly. The buyer expects a high level of interaction with their suppliers when they are ready to engage and be involved in the decision-making process. Now, that is a drastic change of what we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, so we need to implement these expectations into our sales strategy, and we need to equip our sales people in order to facilitate and accommodate these changed buying behaviors. Salespeople must possess the ability to listen, comprehend, anticipate needs, and create solutions accordingly, or in other words, incorporate buyer enablement into their sales approach. Challenge and priority number 5 in 2022 strategy. Let's have a look at that. Now, with emerging technologies like AI, like machine learning, augmented reality, and so on, these technologies may result in disrupting current sales strategies and methodologies, thus requiring appropriate planning by the chief sales officers to react to these disruptive new technologies and digital innovations. And on top of that, buyers are no longer willing to be passive participants in this process, but now expect vendors to actively engage in the buying process. Now that is a drastic change from what we used to do and used to believe in sales. The customer buying process has become more and more complex due to a myriad of stakeholders, complex buying process workflows, and different approval levels. Now, what does that mean for our sales organization? It means that we need to partner closely with buyers and facilitate their buying process. We need to help buyers and their stakeholders through the whole purchasing journey and facilitate the buying process for everyone involved. So it's no longer a sales cycle, but rather a buy cycle. Sales must help buyers make sense of the information overload that the buyers are exposed to through the internet, through social media. So our job as sales is to help our buyers make sense of the information that they consume, that they have available. And we need to put ourselves in a very neutral and objective position. We need to help them and guide them through their decision-making process by providing content that is easy to consume, informational, educational, and also easy to share with their own stakeholders. That is a drastic change in buyer behavior and also in how the whole market is buying at the moment. So we need to facilitate that. We need to have a great alignment between sales and marketing. If we want to keep our competitive edge, we need to work closely together with marketing so that we can support the buyer as much as possible. Now, we will see that sales organizations will be facing a lot of challenges in 2022. There will be increased competition in the marketplace and the need to maintain and retain the competitive edge. We are faced with very, very knowledgeable and savvy buyers and complex buying processes that require to make it as easy as possible for buyers to buy. But there are also solutions that we can look at, and if feasible, we can integrate them into our sales organization and sales strategy. Let's have a look. There is a need for a solid strategy to implement buyer enablement as well as sales enablement in 2022. Also, let's not forget social selling strategies. We can't be dependent and reliant on cold calling, cold outreach anymore. These things will fade away. They will die out as a competitive edge. If we, as a company and an organization, want to have the competitive edge, we need to look outside the box and need to identify strategies that can help our top line and bottom line results, including social selling strategies, including digital prospecting strategies, and also in collaboration with marketing, a solid demand generation strategy. The information that we put out there for the buyer has to be easily accessible, easily shareable among their stakeholders. It needs to be tailored and needs to help them through their buying process. So we need to shift our mindset from sales to being customer service leaders in 2022 and moving beyond that. Challenge and priority number 6 for 2022 for chief sales officers is a huge topic, and it's mental health. Now, the data is very clear that we've seen over the past months, 21% of people in sales roles experience high levels of psychological distress, and 35% feel unsatisfied about their career prospects. A study highlighted 10 different mental health issues salespeople are faced with. It gives us a lot of food for thought. So mental health will be on top of our priority list for next year due to the circumstances that we have gone through over the past years, but also on how the market will move in the future. Studies have found that mental health issues with salespeople are oftentimes linked to compensation, to self-esteem issues, but also performance, pressure, and job security concerns. One of our jobs and priorities for next year will be to address all of these issues and how we can improve our environment, our mindset, our values in order to eliminate these issues within our organization. We will see that we need to identify, find, and implement mechanisms that reduce stress in high-pressured roles, such as an ISR or BDR. We can think about offering flexible work hours if that's not already the case, or a hybrid or work from home and remote working environments. We will see the need of a very close HR and sales department alignment to address these issues, but also to implement psychological assessments to identify issues early on so that we have the chance to address them and improve the situation for our employees. And last but not least, challenge and priority number 7 for CSOs in 2022, AI, artificial intelligence. We will see that a lot of companies and organizations will be implementing AI tools to automate routine tasks, which will eventually lead to the creation of new jobs, but also eliminating menial yet labor-intensive tasks. Now, we can all think about the effect on the workforce, on job security issues that we have discussed in the mental health section. So AI, as much as we love to embrace it to help us be more productive and more effective in our job, there's also a big chance that certain aspects of what we do right now will not be feasible anymore and will eventually be replaced by AI-powered tools. Our focus will be to identify and integrate AI into our sales processes with the objective to improve productivity and the quality of our outcomes, but also to improve the effectiveness of our sales teams and sales people. We will have to work closely with HR, training, and development teams in order to develop a culture of change management. Everything new that comes in will always hit a wall of resistance. We need to address these issues before they arise and prepare the environment in our sales organization, but also the sales people that we work with for these impending changes. Now, we have compiled a free white paper and report about all of these topics that we have been discussing right now. You can easily access it at honeycombagency.co.uk/CSO. It's completely free to download. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.